Hi, I'm Neil. Today I'm going to talk about femininity in the 2013 Tomb Raider reboot. A reboot occurs when a series disregards all previous entries in the series and begins the story anew. Brianna Pratchett, the lead writer of this reboot, was unhappy with the unrealistic portrayal of women in the previous entries of the series. Her goal was to create a game that featured a much more realistic Lara Croft. First things first, we need to discuss how women are typically portrayed in video games. Female game characters typically fall into one of three roles: people who need saving, part of the scenery or background, or obstacles to overcome. Let's look at women as victims first. Here's a screenshot from the 1982 arcade hit Donkey Kong. In it, we see Mario climbing up to rescue his girlfriend who's calling for help. Mario's next game came in 1985, where his goal was to rescue the princess from the evil Bowser. This screenshot is from the arcade hit Arch Rivals, a basketball game from the mid-80s. Women in sports games are usually relegated to the background, or they're depicted as scenery, or people who don't impact the game in any way. Cheerleaders like this only appear when male players score points, possibly as a reward. The third most common way women are portrayed in video games are as obstacles to overcome. This screenshot is from Street Fighter II, a round-robin fighting game where players have to defeat a series of enemies, including Chun-Li, the only female character, before they can win the game. Women are also typically portrayed in over-sexualized outfits that accentuate their busts or how skinny they are. This is especially true in the early Tomb Raider series. Here we see the character models from the first 8 games of Tomb Raider. Notice how unrealistic Lara Croft appears in each of these games. Now, back to the reboot. Here's the new character model for Lara Croft. Compared to a previous incarnation, she is much less sexualized. She's still skinny and she's wearing a revealing top, but she is much more realistically proportioned. The most striking change in the character model for the new Croft is that she's filthy. She's covered in dirt and blood. She limps when she walks. She actually looks like she's been fighting for her life. She doesn't adhere to traditional standards of beauty here. Now let's look at what Croft does in this reboot. When the game begins, Croft is overwhelmed by enemies and taken captive. She screams for help, but no one's coming to rescue her. It's only when she realizes that no one's coming to help her that she tries to free herself. She ultimately escapes, but as her attacker tries to recapture her, he is accidentally crushed by falling rocks while she runs. This is a very stereotypical way to depict a female in a video game. In this scene, Croft is not powerful because she was overwhelmed by another character. She's not aggressive because she chooses to run away from her assailant instead of fight. In fact, the game does not even give the player the option of fighting for survival. Croft can only run. She frees herself by using the environment to her advantage instead of breaking free from her bonds with brute strength, and she's not interested in competing, only surviving. This is another example of Croft being portrayed in a feminine manner. She's in a very vulnerable position, flat on her back with her attacker above her, a position that most male video game characters never find themselves in. She's certainly not the aggressor in this scene. She's not run headlong into battle. Rather, the battle has been brought to her. However, the scene does give Croft's character one typically masculine trait. She's in a contest of strength with her male attacker, and she wins. This scene does not portray Croft as vastly superior in strength when compared to her attacker, but it does show her overpowering a man, which is something that rarely happens in video games. This is the first time the game designers gave Croft a stereotypically male characteristic. As the game progresses, the player faces more situations like this, and Croft becomes more of an aggressor, as evident in this screenshot, where Croft is now hunting people before they get the chance to attack her. The bulk of academic research that is focused on femininity or female depictions in video games has been overwhelmingly negative. The vast majority of games do not feature any female protagonists, and those that do over-sexualize or trivialize their roles. The new Tomb Raider reboot addresses these complaints by creating a female character that is comfortable in a traditionally male role. At the beginning of the game, it appears that Croft's character adheres to the same stereotypes that affect the majority of female game characters. She's scared, she calls for help, she's unsure of herself. However, as the game progresses, she becomes less scared, less reliant on outside help, and more sure of herself. At the end of the game, she is the clear hero. Croft kills the main enemy and secures a way off the island for her friends. Based on current research, Croft is not a traditionally masculine or feminine character. The critical and commercial success of the Tomb Raider reboot proves that gender depictions in video games are changing and that players are accepting of these new changes.
Created using Powtoon.